Hi, this is Ms. Serratis. In this video, we are going to look at formatting communication. So let's start by opening up the communication document that you typed in Google Drive previously. And then we're going to review the directions together. The first direction is asking you to put a header. So the header is actually referring to this part of the paper. And as you know, you can't really write in this section. But you can if you double click. And once you double click, you get this line telling you that you are in the header area. The other way to go to header is to go to Insert and then down to the word header. Either way will work out. So you need to type your full name, meaning your first name and your last name, hit enter, and then type your class number, whether it's 1, 2, 3, just type that. To get out of the header, simply click anywhere outside of the header. Moving on. The next direction wants you to add a title, and the title is communication. And normally the title would be in this area, but I don't want you to put it in the header. Instead, I need it to go below this line. So what we're going to need to do is click before the word communication, hit the enter twice, and now we can go ahead and type the title communication. We also need to center it. And the directions are asking that there be one space between the word communication and the paragraphs. And the next thing we need to do is change the font. So I'm going to select it, go to the font drop-down list, and I'm going to look for something called Alpha Slab 1, which I already have. But if you do not have that font, what you need to do is go to More Fonts and then search for it. You can scroll and look for it. If you're going to do that, I recommend that you put the fonts in alphabetical order and you can look for it or you can search for it. So because I already have it, I'm just going to go ahead and select it. And the directions also wants you to change it to size 14. The next one is asking you to change the fonts of the remaining paragraphs to something called trébuchet. It's a French word. So to do that, you need to, again, find it. If you don't already have it, oops, I forgot to select it. If you don't already have it, then you need to go ahead and find it like I told you before by going to More Fonts. So I already have it. So trébuchet, it's a French word, or you can say trébuchette. Either one works fine. And now you've changed the font and you need to make it size 12. So what I recommend you do when you're watching this video is you don't have to watch the entire video and then, the whole video and then do the assignment. You can just watch a little bit of it, pause, and go back and do your work. So if you want, this would be a good time to take a pause and then come back. Welcome back. So we're moving on with direction number 4, which is asking us to cut and paste. So what we're going to do is rearrange the order of these paragraphs. So I'm going to select the last paragraph, I'm going to right click, and I'm going to hit cut. And I need to make sure it ends up in this area. So I click, I right click, and I hit paste, and there it is. But now I need to be careful. I want to make sure that my spacing in between the paragraphs stay the same. So you notice there's one space here, but definitely there's more here. So I'm going to click in the space and hit my delete key. A lot of kids make the mistake of hitting the backspace. Look for the delete key. That's the one that you want. Find and replace. This may be a new function for you. What find and replace does is it allows you to change words that you previously typed. So to activate it, you're going to go to the edit and then go to find and replace. And we actually want to find the word utilize. So I type the word utilize, and you notice if I move the box out of the way, it's already selected. And I want to replace it with the word use, and then I just hit replace. And you can see that it automatically replaced it. It's probably a good idea to catch it at that time because you are going to need to underline it. So I'm going to select it, and this is the underline button, and then I'm done. So what you're going to do is continue with the directions. Why don't you take a pause here, and you want to find element and also unlock and come back once you've done that. You'll notice that while you were away, I also went ahead and replaced the words with component and opens and made sure to underline. So all 3 words are underlined. The next direction wants you to find the word count. So the way that you find the word count is you go to the Tools menu and then you click on this. But I'm actually not going to do it because if I do, then you'll know the answer. So what you're going to do is once you find the word count, which means how many words, you're going to type the word count at the bottom and actually type that physical number. So don't type the number symbol, type the actual word count. Moving on, we need to double space. So let's select our 3 paragraphs, and then sometimes I have difficulty using the mouse to select, and if you do, you can use, if you have that same issue, just use the arrow keys. That's what I just did. So then to double space, you go to the Format menu and you go to Line Spacing and you click on Double. And look what happens. It automatically put extra space in between each line. Some kids make the mistake of thinking, let me undo that. Some kids make the mistake of thinking that to double space you hit an enter at the end of the line to make everything go down. And although it looks like it's double space, you can already see here that the indentation is incorrect. So let me undo, and bring it back to the way we want it. So when you are double spacing, make sure that you do it by applying the formatting tools by going to Format, Line Spacing, and clicking on Double. So when you do that, however, there's too much space in between the paragraphs. The general rule is if your paragraphs are single spaced, which is how we started, then it's okay to put 1 space in between them. However, if your paragraphs are double spaced, which is what we have now, then you don't need to put extra spacing in between them. So I did that kind of quickly. The way I got rid of it was to click on the space and hit my delete key. If I click on the backspace, it sometimes works, it sometimes doesn't work, so I highly recommend you use the delete key instead. We are almost finished. Now what we need to do is add a footnote at the bottom to define the word communication. So we're going to actually define this communication, which is the first word in the sentence. So the way you put a footnote is first you want to click at the end of the word, not in the middle of the word, the end of the word. And then after that you want to go to the Insert menu and you want to go to Footnote. And when you do that, it automatically takes you to the bottom of the page. I just realized I did footer. I meant to do footnote. My apologies. So there we go. Notice that there's a number 1. Also notice that there's a number 1 after the word communication. That's because it tells the reader that if you want to know the definition or you want to know more information about communication, look for the little number 1, which is on the bottom. And what we actually want to find out is the definition. So to get the definition, simply right-click on the word and go to Define. And the definition should show up on the research bar to the right. And the definition actually ends right here. So I'm just going to use my technology tools. I'm going to select it. I'm going to use Control-C, which means copy. Alternatively, you could have actually right-clicked. I'm going to come down here and I'm going to write communication. I'm going to go equal. Oops, sorry about that. Oh boy. Thank you for bearing with me. And I'm going to do Control-V, which means paste. So I basically just took this definition and pasted it in. But I don't like the way it looks. The font is different, and you want the font to be the same. And although I could see what the font is, Arial 10, I'm going to cheat. And the way I'm going to cheat is by using a tool called the Format Painter. I like the way this font looks, and I want this one to match. So I'm going to go ahead and select. I'm going to click on this roller, which is the paint format, and then I'm going to select this. And look at that. Voila! They're the same. You don't have to do it that way. You could actually change the font by going in and making it Arial 10. So now we've added the definition. So the last thing we need to do, let me close this box, is to go ahead and add an image. So to do that, you want to go to Insert and go to Image. And we want to go ahead and do a search for the image. And we're going to make sure we're on Google. There are other options, but Google is the one that you're going to get the most amount of pictures from. And my image search is going to be based on communication. And when I do a search, I get a lot of things. You could narrow your search by clicking on the different boxes, and that'll bring up color-specific searches if that matters to you. But in the interest of time, I'm just going to go ahead and click on this picture and click Select. And now the image has been put on the bottom, but I actually have jumped down to the second page. So I need to resize it by dragging it much smaller. See, it says over here on the right that I'm on page 2. Need to make it much smaller to make sure that everything fits on one page. I also want to go ahead and move it off to the right. So one way I could move it is to hit the Wrap Text button, and that'll allow me to put it on the right. So you can size it a little bit, but just make sure that all of your text stays the way it was originally. So you can kind of move it into place. So if I zoom out, I hit my Control and minus to make it a little smaller, maybe too small. This is what your final product should look like. You notice you've got the header, we did something with the title, we made some font changes, we've got some replacing going on, we did some word count, we put in a footer, make sure the number 1 is over there to match definition. We put in a picture. So once you are done, go ahead and submit your work. Good luck, guys.